Okay, here's your comm check, okay?
Yep. Nice. Yep.
Okay. Okay, so Inspector Jeff, J-E-F-F Penno, P-E-N-N-O. I'm the Road Policing Manager for the Waikato Police District. I'm going to look at you because that's too high, is that okay? Okay, so we're good to go, Anna? Okay. As police have previously stated, last evening, just shortly before 4:45, emergency services attended a fatal vehicle collision on State Highway 3 between Ohaupo and Tiamutu. This crash involved one vehicle crossing the centre line, which has tragically collided head-on with a second vehicle, resulting in 5 people dying at the scene, 3 in one vehicle and 2 in the other. This is a horrendous event, and our hearts certainly go to the family and friends of those who are starting a long journey of pain and suffering. This is why the police do what we do every day. We work with our partners to make a system as safe as possible, and when it goes wrong, these are the results. Last evening, the Serious Crash Office conducted a meticulous scene examination of the scene. At this stage, we understand what time it happened, we understand where it happened, and we understand how it happened, but we do not understand why. So we need to work through that in a meticulous manner to make sure we get all the evidence and the forensics from the scene, which then moves into the second stage of the investigation, which will be looking at the vehicles and all other factors. We work with witnesses, and we do have several from the vehicle crash to assist us, but primarily we focus on the physical evidence and what that can tell us. This type of incident is particularly hard on our people. We had some young staff there last night, and we're certainly supporting our people through that. Our hearts go out to obviously our cousins in Fire and Emergency and St John's, who also were at the scene. You've got to understand that we join these organisations to save lives, and when we go to this type of event, we feel like we failed, and it's particularly hard on all those involved. Take a break. Anna, did I miss anything in that primary one? 216. Right, happy to take questions.
Can you tell us more about how it happened last night?
At this stage, we don't know why it occurred. We know one vehicle has crossed the centre line, and that vehicle has collided with another vehicle. We know exactly where the physical impact was, and it's clearly on the wrong side of the road, but we need to determine why that occurred.
Are police still working to identify the victims? Do you know if they live locally or...?
We are well down the path of formal identifications and advising the families, and out of respect for the families who are starting a long and painful journey, I don't think we should comment any further on that, but all family members have been advised.
Is this a high-risk stretch of road? I'm not familiar with the area, but is it a notorious area?
No, it's not a high-risk road in the Waikato. We have a number of high-risk roads. We know as a police district we put the most vehicles down the highest-risk roads in the country, which is why we are infamous for our road trauma. This piece of road is not one of those roads, and while we always look at the environment, early indications are that roading factors on this particular piece of road are not at fault, albeit it is a 100-kilometre road which is undivided, which always carries a high degree of risk.
This is the second fatal crash after one on Friday involving a car and truck. Is that concerning for police? It's in the same area.
Every fatality on our roads nationally is gut-wrenching for the police. It's gut-wrenching for Waka Kotahi, who work with us to ensure the system is as safe as possible. I can say at this point that the crash causes of those two are unrelated, and whilst we can't state the causes because the coroner needs to make those rulings, we are just working through the investigations.
I don't want you to feel like I'm asking you to say something that's sensitive to the families at this time, sir, but can you give us a talk on just the scene, what your officers were confronted with, or what they saw, what was happening around them, that they're able to deal with when they arrived yesterday?
For emergency services, there is no such thing as a nice fatality scene. There are high speeds and forces involved. To describe the scene, I don't think would be appropriate and respectful to those involved. Needless to say that 5 people lost their lives in a violent act, which we're now trying to undo to understand why.
Is there any concern that the side barriers on that road make it difficult for people to move out of the way if a car is coming towards them on the wrong side?
Safe roads and roadsides are a really massive pillar to a safe system. and we believe that those side barriers have exponentially more safety benefits than risks. And I can tell you from the scene, the side barriers were not a causational factor that we're aware of at this point.
So if they could have moved onto the verge, there would have been enough room?
I'm not going to be subjective as to what could or could not have worked, but the side barriers were not at play in this fatality.
Is there evidence that alcohol was involved?
Impairment is always something we look at, so to ensure all drivers are sober, and not just alcohol but illegal and illegal drugs, and that is certainly a focus of this accident.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the public's role was at the scene before emergency services arrived?
As with the majority of crashes, we do have the public there or thereabouts, and as I said, we do have witnesses at the scene. That's something that no one should experience. It's just harrowing for them, so we make sure we wrap up the support around them as quick as we can. We get them out of the scene as quickly as we can, which we do for a number of reasons: one, for evidence protection, and two, for safety of the first responders. So we will continue to support those people.
In this instance, did they provide any assistance, or what did they do?
I'm not going to answer that question.
This might be a question that is thoroughly far too early, but any idea on the makes and models of the vehicles involved and what their safety ratings were?
Both the vehicles were older. I can't tell you exactly what the safety ratings were. They were not 5-star vehicles, but whether that is a causation at this point, we're unable to determine if that's a factor at this point.
Do you know if they were all wearing seatbelts?
The physical scene will not allow us to determine whether all occupants were restrained. Some certainly were.
Was there any evidence of speed?
The speed limit in the crash scene is at 100 kilometres per hour. We need to do some pretty detailed mathematics to establish the speeds using crumple zones and skid marks and crash analysis. Early indications are that excess speed was not a factor. The question would be whether the speed limit is appropriate for that stretch of road, being an undivided road. We know that international research tells us that if you have an undivided road, the safe, appropriate and survivable speed for that road is 80 kilometres per hour, which is why the review of the speed limits, particularly in the Waikato and other districts like ours, like Bay Plenty and Central, are so critical.
So what is it at the moment? Is it 80 or 100?
It's 100 kilometres per hour.
100. And, I mean, the Minister for Transport has said he doesn't want 80 Ks going roads unless it's a clear safety issue. Are you saying this road would warrant a permanent reduction?
No, I didn't say that. I said the evidence tells us that that's the safe and survivable speed on an undivided road. I'm not prepared to make any political comment. That's for the politicians and Waikato, who are the riding authority in this case, to make that determination.
See if I can just put you one step back to the broader picture for your good district. I think this is one crash has almost doubled the road toll from what I think last year. In one crash, which must be a horrible thing.
Yes, yesterday morning we were 27% down on our fatalities, and we were certainly celebrating that. That's a source of great pride for us in the Waikato, because our roading infrastructure is of the nature where we do have a lot of trauma. Look, I don't really care about the numbers. People have died. We failed. You know, our job is to keep you safe on the road. Our job is to play our part in a safe system, which is why every day our team go out and write out speeding tickets. If you speed in the Waikato, you will get a speeding ticket, and this is the reason why. We will breath test you 24/7, and if you don't wear a seatbelt or use your phone, we will ticket you. That is our role.
Yeah, when you talk about failing, I don't think other people would see it like that, but you're taking this very personally.
We do our role to save lives, and we understand our role in the safe system, and that's around safe vehicles, safe speeds, safe roads and roadsides, and safe road use. So our job is to make sure people on the road are compliant, they're sober, they're alert, and they're driving to the conditions and to their ability. So when it goes wrong, yes, we do take it personally, but equally that gives us the motivation and the passion to do what we do, and if that motorist chooses to abuse us for that, we do not respond. We think back to this event and say that is why we do what we do.
Does the road need to be made more safer by any medium barriers?
Look, that's a priority matter for Kotahi to discuss the use. Obviously, centre barriers do save lives. They are also incredibly hard to retrofit onto a roadway with multiple driveways, intersections, that sort of thing. And that's a matter of priorities as to the most appropriate road. And sometimes they just don't fit. So again, that's not ready for police to comment. We provide the data to Waka Kotahi to say, this is what we are seeing, this is our analysis of risk, and they work through that process with their budget, the funding and priorities.
Can police comment about whether the victims were local?
No, I can't at this stage. We're still in the very early stages. We have done the advising. That information will come through in due course, but I'm not prepared to say where they're from at this point.
And leading up to the long weekend, after a crash like this, how are police feeling about the road safety in the coming King's Birthday holiday?
We have a plan. We understand our risk over the long weekends. We understand our crash risk increases, and we staff and we deploy accordingly. So our plans for this weekend for Matariki and King's Birthday, they were done about 3 or 4 months ago. So we know what we're doing and we'll stick to the plan. If you offend in the Waikato this weekend, you can expect red and blue flashing lights behind you.
Do we know where the vehicles are heading to?
I have that information, but it's not relevant to this. We do know the destinations and their journeys, but
Any last questions before we wrap up? Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
oh, come on, that was too easy. That wasn't on film, eh? Thanks, team. Excellent.
Thank you.